Let's go to chess and mental health, because that's another thing that we should probably discuss, and it's a topic that I see arise quite often online, on Twitter, things of that nature. How how would you say your mental health is? You mentioned that you had some psychological problems. You think that you couldn't have managed to deal with the pressure of playing and trying to make it 2800. How do you deal with that right now?
Well, okay, there's a couple of avenues here. I think right in the current moment, my mental health and my like psychological makeup is better than it's been in years past. And part of this is because okay, this is I think going to be a disappointment for some people, but at the end of the day, I'm in charge of my own life and I know what's best for me. And I am at this age, I think I've reached an age where I realize that everybody, people know themselves better than any other people know them. And, for me, a big step was deciding that I am, at least for the current moment, I'm not going to speak 5 years from now. I'm not 60 years old. So maybe this will change when I become more established. But I am sort of semi-retired at the current present moment from classical chess. Last few years, I've played a couple tournaments a year, mostly tournaments in Charlotte, and I think I've handled myself pretty well. I played U.S. Championship, like I played some pretty strong opens, and I haven't performed really badly in any of them. But right now, given my lack of classical preparation, which I think is something a lot of people don't really comprehend, how hard it is to not play classical. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't play for a year, and then you play, John Smith, 6 years old, 1900 in the first round, and you're like, you got to change your pants like 3 times per game because like I could actually lose this game. So right now, what's best for my mental health is what I'm doing right now. I'm playing a ton online. I'm playing a lot of online events, and I am actively trying to improve my blitz and bullet level. So I love chess more than I've ever loved it in my life, but I've made the decision mostly for my mental health to put off my classical chess development for the time being because of how stressful it is. And, I have the absolute greatest admiration for that reason for people like you, Fabi, who keep and improve your level in this, brutally difficult chess environment right now. And Christian, you as well, of course.
I don't play.
Um,
I'm a retired. I'm a retired chess player.
well,
Coaching, doing some YouTube on the side. That's me, and commentary. That's basically what
I
I
think
do
it's an
nowadays.
interesting topic though, because chess and mental health, and like also if we go way back, it's been well documented that a lot of strong chess players have suffered from mental health problems. And obviously, I don't know like exactly what the reason is, but there's always been speculation that's because chess does uh, provide like a mental strain and a psychological strain on someone, and also it's a very solitary activity.
Hmm.
So very often you have to like rely on yourself. So yeah, obviously like a case like Bobby Fischer is a classic one, or Morphy, right? Or Rubinstein, like these players who were the greatest of their time, and then they struggled from very serious mental health problems, which even ended their careers very often, right? In the case of Bobby Fischer, I think it's safe to say, and now we're a bit more cognizant of mental health, right? Of the importance of keeping, um, yeah, of not like sacrificing your entire life for chess, because obviously it is just a board game, and also trying to maintain your psychology and keep like a normal life somewhat. But also Magnus spoke about this recently, right? The reason why he finds classical chess not as fun as it used to be is because it's so stressful, and I can also relate to that as well. I think we all can to some degree.
Would you say that's also because, in the digital age, everything seems to be much more interconnected? The world seems like a smaller place, right? Back in the days, no social media, you were going to play a tournament, you didn't really know what's happening in the other side of the world. Nowadays, there's like 5 tournaments going on at the same time. You could be commentating, you could be playing, you could be taking a trip to the Bahamas if you want. I think that's where Magnus is right now. He's been posting some vacation photos. Like, it just feels like a much smaller world, and the opportunities of doing something else feel like they overtook a little bit our mental capacity. If that makes any sense. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense. Bobby, I'll let you. I've talked too much as it is.
No, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it as well. I mean,
You're the
I
guest,
definitely
Daria. You're the guest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Man, this is such an interesting, such an important topic. And the last classical tournament that I played, which was the Charlotte local open tournament here in Charlotte, I remember sitting at the board and thinking all these thoughts. And I'm very blessed to have an incredible community on Twitch and YouTube that is ridiculously supportive and ridiculously wholesome. And it's something I don't take for granted. But even with that in account, as I'm playing these games, sometimes like, man, if I lose to this 2200, there's gonna be a Reddit post, and I'm gonna have to talk about it on stream and stuff. And of course I don't, and nobody's gonna hold it against me. And I know that. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm blaming myself for having these thoughts. But I realize that I'm not enjoying this. I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, watching the seconds tick down for the tournament to end, so that I can, hopefully keep my 2600 and go back to streaming and playing Blitz and having a good time. And that's when I kind of realized, like, wait a second, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to play another tournament if I don't want to. And right now I don't want to, because that's what's best for my mental health and my well-being. But you're right, Christian, in the sense that everybody knows about everything. There's so much going on at the same time. And your life, if you're in any kind of public role, is kind of on broadcast 24/7. And I am by nature a very private person. I'm an introvert. Some people might be surprised to find I'm very much an introvert. And I do like my peace and quiet. And what I'll end with is I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, I was just going to make a comment about Morphe. It is very true that the kind of mental health problems that a lot of these players have experienced, it manifests itself as a distaste, as a hatred for chess. So Morphe, I've read a lot about Morphe. He's a fascinating character. And when he came back from Europe at age 22 or whatever and retired from chess, it wasn't that he just retired from chess and would play casual games on the side. There are stories from when Morphe opened a law office and tried to put his past behind him. The reason he failed as a lawyer was because all of his clients would come in, they would pretend to ask questions about law, and they're like, Paul, can I get a game from you? What was it really like, giving that blindfold simul in Europe? And Morphe would get angry and start shouting and send them out of the room. There's even a famous, well, not a famous story, but Wilhelm Steinitz, the first world champion, wanted to meet Morphe in the 1880s. And Steinitz traveled to New Orleans and chronicled his journey. I'm going to meet Morphe. And he met Morphe in the streets. Morphe finally agreed to meet Steinitz. And when they met, Morphe said the phrase, "Hello, Wilhelm, I'm down to have a conversation as long as it's about anything but chess." And in his New York Times report, Steinitz literally is like, and I was standing there being like, well, what the WTF do you want me to talk about? I mean, I know you're a good lawyer, but you're Morphe. Like, that's what I want to talk about. So it really does, in many cases translate to a hatred for chess. And I definitely don't want that to be the case. That is what I fear. I want to maintain a wholesome relationship with the game. And that is why at my, it's weird to say at my age, I don't, imply that I'm old, but at my level of experience, I'm ready to start doing things on my terms. I've put in the hours, I've put in the years, and I've put in the travel, and I want to chill a little bit. And that's just, that's what I'm doing.